Hey guys, how's it going? Hope you're doing well. My name is Crown, and today I'm going to read you some very interesting stories that I hope that you're gonna love. And now, without further ado, let's go! It all started on one summer evening when my family and I decided to take a bike ride around our peaceful neighborhood. The sun was setting and the street lights were flickering to life, so we turned on our bike lights to stay safe. Well, almost all of us did. You see, I had a little trouble balancing my bike with one hand, so I planned to turn on my light once I came to a stop. That's when we had our first encounter with the infamous Karen. "Excuse me." My parents were pedaling ahead a bit too far to hear her, but I pulled over and responded politely. "Yes?" "You need to turn your light on, sweetheart. It's getting dark." "Oh yes, I was actually going to do it right now. You see, I can't balance on a moving bike all that well, so I had to stop for that." Karen suddenly raises her voice from nice to Jurassic World T-Rex. "Sure thing. You young people are full of lies these days." "Oh, and how is that?" "If you can't balance on your bike while it's moving, why are you alone, huh?" Me tries to remain calm even though I have a short temper. "Oh, actually my family..." "Don't lie to me, young man. You teenagers are so stupid." "I'm just 12, but I look a bit older, maybe 13 or 14. "Excuse you? You know, you shouldn't yell at complete strangers like that, don't you?" Karen is shocked by my response. My family is catching up because they realized I wasn't following them. I pull out my phone and tell my family to wait. This is gonna be interesting. "Excuse me, I'm talking to you. You know what?" She runs towards me and reaches for my phone. "I'm gonna teach you some manners." Now, it's essential to know that I was standing in front of a beautiful fountain in our neighborhood. When Karen lunged for my phone, I quickly sidestepped, and she tumbled headfirst into the fountain. You'd think that would be the end of it, right? Wrong. Fast forward 20 minutes later, I am telling my parents and sister the story, and we see a car approaching at an insane speed. The driver was swerving and acting erratic, so we all agree that the person behind the wheel was genuinely nuts. We decide to head back home, hoping to put this bizarre encounter behind us. Minutes later, the doorbell rings. Once, twice, thrice. Until I got tired of it and decided to see who it was. Lo and behold, it was none other than Karen herself. This woman had sped past us only to wait for us to get home. I was thoroughly creeped out, so I dashed into my room, grabbed my most painful nerve plaster, and returned to the front door. You're the one who pushed me into the fountain. I'm gonna make you pay for that." Me? Pulls out nerve plaster. "Are you sure about that? Are you trying to assault me? Did you follow me and my family home?" She's visibly shocked and didn't know that I had called the police. Fortunately, the police arrived mere seconds later. Officer asks, "Alright, what's going on here?" I answer, "This lady harassed me in front of her house, sped past my family, and followed us to our house." "Officer, don't believe him. He pushed me into a fountain and left snickering. When I tried to talk to his parents about his behavior, he opened the door and shot me with those toy guns." "Sir, did you shoot this woman with a toy gun?" "No, sir, because as you can see, my nerve plaster is still fully loaded. I only brought it here in case of a possible assault." "Do you have any proof, ma'am?" "No." "I do. We have cameras around our property and she sped past ours." "Well, let's see it then." Karen was pale and finally, she shut up. Finally. The officer checked the footage and it revealed that Karen was going about 40 miles per hour over the speed limit. The evidence was clear, and she was caught red-handed. Police officer tells her, "Ma'am, it seems you were driving recklessly and endangering others. Do you have an explanation for this?" Karen stammered but couldn't produce a coherent response. Me, whispering to myself, "Karma's real, well, you know." Police officer asks me, "Do you want to press charges, young man?" Oh boy, do I. "Yes, please." So I had to attend her trial just 2 days ago. The court found her guilty of assault, filing a false police report, and reckless driving. She was sentenced to 2 years in prison. Karen had pushed her entitlement to the limit and got exactly what she deserved. The lesson here, my friends, is that you can't go around harassing people, making false accusations, and endangering lives without facing the consequences. Sometimes the universe has a funny way of setting things right, like a crazy lady taking an unexpected dive into a fountain and learning the hard way that actions have consequences. This happened to me about 2 years ago, but a former co-worker just reminded me about it. I'm pretty sure it counts as malicious compliance. I'll try to keep it short, but it's a little long. I used to be a service manager at one of the biggest locations of a popular Mexican grill. I won't say which, but guac was $1.95 extra, and we were required to ask everyone if they were okay paying that price. One Sunday morning, our second busiest shift of the week, 2 of my line people called out, so we were struggling to get all of our prep done before opening at 11. We were just wrapping up when in comes Karen. 10 minutes before opening, through the side door marked "Employees Only" with 15 preteen girls in tow. My cook recognizes her as she regularly comes in during the dinner shift and is extremely abusive and cruel to all the Latino workers. Karen tells me they can order whatever they want, throws her credit card at me, and goes to sit down at a table and doodle on her phone. Now, I can't ring up her order without her standing there because of the company rules, and I'm 30 weeks pregnant and just want to take my break. I prego-waddled over to Karen's table to try and inform her of that when she literally flicks her hand at me to dismiss me. Not only have I been at the store since 7 and done 2 different people's job on top of my own, but I also have my son's head grinding against my pelvic bones and kicking me like crazy. I'm in no mood. When I try to tell her again, she looks at me with what I can only describe as seething contempt and says, "What part of they can get whatever they want do you not understand? I don't care what you charge me as long as I get a receipt. Don't interrupt me again or I will get your fat A fired." Now, I never cry, but that almost got me. Motherhood is awesome, but pregnancy sucks. I finally managed to pick my jaw off the ground and stammer, "Alright ma'am, I'll ring up whatever they want and bring your receipt." The girls were really nice and most of them ordered double meat and they all got bottled water and chips and guac. Every last one. My cashier and I are just vibrating with glee as we rang them up and watched the bill climb to like $250. I brought the bill to Karen and I was pretty excited when she didn't immediately check it. I made my own food and told the cook to come get me when the show starts. I'm halfway done eating when I see him waving to the camera, howling with laughter. So I head up. Karen is foaming at the mouth screaming for the manager. When she sees that the manager is me, she literally grinds her teeth and slaps her receipt on a table. She manages to choke out the word refund. The girls have all pretty much finished their food. So I inform her that I won't be doing that because I would lose my job for giving away that much critical inventory. Meat, guac, cheese for free. Then I gently remind her that she told me twice that they could get anything as long as she got a receipt. She just keeps demanding a refund and calling me stupid and fat. Again, pregnant. At this point, her screaming is holding up the very long line and customers are shouting at her to just leave. And that's when she pushed me. Freaking hard. My cashier caught me so I didn't fall down, but 2 of our regulars who are police officers see it and immediately cuff her. In this state, any use of physical force against a pregnant woman is classified as aggravated battery or something like that. I felt bad for the kids and I was fine, so I kept telling them I didn't want to press charges, but they said that at that point it didn't matter because the woman had done it in front of on-duty cops. So she got arrested. They had to call the kids' parents to come get them because she was their church's youth leader and get statements. My general manager came in and let me go home with a full day's pay. She tried to take the case to trial, but they had video and like 20 witness statements, so she ended up taking a couple of years probation or something. All because I did exactly what she told me to do. Hey Reddit, I need your advice on a situation I'm caught up in. I'll try to keep it as simple as possible. So there's this guy, Tom, we've been friends for a decade now, and we met at a party way back when, and yes, he asked me out back then, but I said no. Since that moment, things got a little complicated. Tom, you see, has been in and out of a few relationships over the years. He even had a 4-year-long thing with his now ex-girlfriend, but things took a turn when they broke up in March. After the breakup, Tom started asking me out again, and again, and again. You get the picture. This put some strain on our friendship, and we've had our share of awkward conversations about it. But the last time we talked, it seemed like he finally got the message. I wasn't interested in being more than friends. Here is where the real dilemma starts. Tom's family has been putting immense pressure on him to settle down and tie the knot, especially since his older brother got engaged. That's when he came up with this crazy idea of inviting me as his +1 to his brother's wedding. I agreed reluctantly because I didn't want him to go alone and be the odd one out at his own family event. Seemed like the decent thing to do, right? But then things got weirder. Tom told his brother about me, and his brother, let's call him Mark, said he wanted to meet me before the wedding in case it's awkward. I thought it was kinda strange considering I'm just the +1, not a member of the wedding party or anything. Still, I said sure, arrange something if you want to meet me, Mark. But it didn't stop there. Mark has since spilled the beans to his mom and dad about my impending appearance at the wedding. And now his mother wants to meet me too, just to make sure you'll fit in with everyone. This is where I started feeling like I'm under some sort of scrutiny. And honestly, it's making me uncomfortable. I'm starting to wonder if Tom has been telling his family more than he should about our situation. Could he imply that there is something more between us than friendship? Because I sure didn't. And now I'm at a crossroads. I am torn between attending the wedding and bowing out gracefully. I can't help but feel like maybe I'm the one being awkwardly thrust in a situation that I didn't sign up for. So would I be the jerk if I decided to not go to the wedding? Or is this all just par for the course and I'm being overly sensitive? Let me give you a little more context to help you form your judgment. First, I've always been clear with Tom about my feelings. I never gave him false hope or led him on. I value our friendship and didn't want to jeopardize that. So, I was always honest about where I stood. Second, I agreed to be his +1 because I wanted to be a good friend. I thought I could help him avoid the loneliness and awkwardness of going to a family wedding without a date, especially given the family's obsession with settling down. But now, with Mark and his parents wanting to meet me before the big day, it's starting to feel like I'm being set up for something more than just being a +1. Maybe Tom has painted a different picture of our relationship to his family. I can't help but wonder if he's trying to use this wedding as an opportunity to push his agenda of us being together. The more I think about it, the more uncomfortable and frustrated I become. It feels like my boundaries are being violated and I don't appreciate being put in a situation where I'm essentially auditioning for the role of Tom's girlfriend in front of his family. I am genuinely torn here and I don't want to be the jerk in this story. Your honest advice would be greatly appreciated. Thanks for listening. And now some comments on the post. Someone saying, I don't think Tom is your friend. He didn't understand your stance 10 years ago and isn't understanding it now. I wouldn't spend alone time with him for safety reasons and would cut him off. As for the family and the awkward comments reading on Reddit how people are obsessed with wedding photos, and if the girlfriend or boyfriend are going to be in family photos and then break up and need it to be cropped out and all this drama, I think that's why they want to meet you and make sure you're long term. I would go to the meeting with all of them, brother, mom, and whoever wants to, and make it clear right there and then that you're a +1, not a date or a girlfriend. Stating that in front of Tom and witnesses in the form of his immediate family would shut all of this down. Another commenter adds, Tom is the one in the wrong here. Maybe he thinks you'll play along with his con if he puts you in a situation where everyone thinks the two of you are together. Sounds like he's already telling the family you're finally on board, and is betting you won't make a scene about it at someone else's wedding. His endgame is probably that you'll have so much fun playing girlfriend you'll finally get over yourself and realize you've been obtuse this whole time, and that he's as perfect for you as he's repeatedly told you he is. I've been this girl, OP. and Tom will never respect that you're not interested in him. Back out of the wedding, and if you feel like it, take a massive step back from the friendship, because he's not your friend if he's only sticking around to date you, not the jerk. To start, I must say I might have gotten some of the smaller details wrong because this was a couple of years ago and I was away at university when most of this went down, but the general story as a whole is true. For some background, I live in a predominantly white suburban town in New Jersey and my family is Asian. Although the town is alright for the most part, it's not really a secret that some of the townspeople are pretty racist. One of our neighbors, let's call him Anthony, is a retired police captain from another town, but he's friends with my town's police chief. My mother is a first-generation immigrant, and although she's fluent in English, she still has a pretty thick Asian accent. A couple of years ago, my mom went to visit one of her friends on the other side of town, and my mom had parallel parked directly in front of her friend's house, which is at the bottom of a small hill. As she was leaving, a woman driving a Jeep Wrangler with her children was driving down the small hill, but she was still a decent distance back, so my mom pulled out of her spot. The road they were on was really wide, with enough space to fit 5 cars next to one another, and about 40 feet ahead was a stop sign. My mom at this point was already in the middle of the road, fully out of the parking spot, and had gotten about 10 feet when the woman driving the Jeep suddenly came up from behind my mom's car and cut directly in front of her, crossing a double yellow line to do so. Because of the angle she cut off my mom at, the Jeep's rear wheel ended up ripping off my mom's front bumper. My mom naturally immediately stopped, and the woman got out of her car after straightening it out on a road. As soon as she stepped out of her car, this woman, we will call her Karen, immediately started cursing my mom out at the top of her lungs. Karen told my mom to call the police, but my mom told her that her phone had died. My mom's friend and her son, as well as a neighbor, came out of the house after hearing the commotion to see what had happened. The neighbor, an elderly man, asked what happened and Karen yelled, "Can't you see? An accident happened. Go call the police. I need to call my boyfriend." The son had taken a law class in college, so he offered to take a bunch of pictures of the scene of the incident and send them to my mom later. This becomes super important later. The neighbor calls the police, but Karen's boyfriend arrives at the scene first. When a cop, let's call him Kenny, finally arrives, he asks my mom what happened, and just as my mom had just started telling her side of the story, the cop says, "Wait just a minute," and walks over to the boyfriend. As it turns out, the boyfriend, we will call him Sam, was a cop in town who was pretty popular with the kids in the middle schools, since he would occasionally visit to talk about things like deer and other things in assemblies. Sam was off duty at the time, so he was able to come over when Karen called him. As soon as Kenny saw his bud Sam, he immediately went to go talk with him rather than with my mom or with Karen. They discussed it for a little while and afterward sent everyone on their way. My mom tried to talk to Kenny before he left, but Kenny just brushed it off and said he got the details he needed and that my mom will be able to get the police report in about a week or two. When my mom received the police report, she saw that it said that she pulled out without using her blinkers suddenly and hit Karen's car. On top of that, Karen was expecting for my mom's insurance to pay for the damage done to her rear wheel. My mom went to my neighbor Anthony to ask what she should do about the report since it was clearly wrong. And Anthony was furious and told her that she should go to the police station and ask to see the chief, and if they ask why she needs to see him, she should tell them that it's because she wants to file an internal complaint. That day, my mom takes the photographs sent to her by the son and goes to the police station and asks the person working the front desk to see the chief. The cop says that she could not just walk in and ask for the chief. So my mom responds, "Okay, so where should I go to file an internal complaint?" And the cop immediately straightens up and says, "Right here, come with me." He leads her into the back. The deputy chief steps into the room and starts recording the conversation. Since the chief was out, my mom presented all the evidence to him instead. After presenting the evidence to show that it was in fact Karen that hit her instead of the other way around, my mom also says that she would like to file a corruption complaint against both Kenny and Sam. Kenny clearly did not do his job properly, since he did not properly ask the actual people involved in the accident and did not even know the fact that there were 2 passengers in Karen's car in a report. Even Karen later admitted to an investigator that Kenny never once spoke to her. My mom even threw in the racist card for good measure, saying maybe Kenny wouldn't listen to her and brushed her off because of her thick Asian accent. Sam, meanwhile, had interfered with the investigation despite not being at the scene of the crime during the time of the accident. The deputy chief says he will start an internal investigation and will see if anything needs to be done. Meanwhile, my mom also filed a claim to her insurance and presented the evidence to them too. And her insurance decided since the accident in their eyes was clearly not her fault, they weren't going to pay Karen a penny and that they would contact Karen's insurance to pay my mom instead. A lot of internal, bureaucratic investigational nonsense happens, including interviews with Karen, my mom's friends, and the friend's neighbor. About a month passed and an officer came to our house to tell my mom that Kenny had been punished. But there was not enough evidence to punish Sam, and he just wanted to know if there were any other concerns she had. Since Karen seemingly had not done anything to further warrant any action and the damage to the car was paid for, my mom said that there was nothing else. This is a fun part. 3 days after the officer came to our door, a letter came in the mail for a court hearing. Turns out, Karen decided to file 3 tickets about my mom just 1 day before the statute of limitations. Apparently, in New Jersey, citizens are allowed to file complaints about other citizens breaking the law. A thing that our family had never heard of before until this happened. And because of how late she filed these complaints, by the time we received them in the mail, we couldn't even counter-complain and the only options were to pay the fine or go to court. We assumed that Karen learned about being able to file a complaint from Sam because, oh well, and that the only reason she was willing to go this far is because she heard my mom had a super thick Asian accent and assumed that my mom would not know what to do about the tickets and would just pay up. What she didn't count on was the fact that my mom is actually really aggressive with an absolutely massive network of people that she knows. Within a day, my mom hired a lawyer to fight the case and they immediately asked to change the court from the small court in our town to one of the large courts a couple of towns away. The logic was that if she fought the case in our town, my mom would be at a disadvantage since her case was essentially going against our town's beloved police force. But by putting it in a different town, the playing field will be even. Additionally, while my mom worked from home in her own business, Karen had a full-time job in town, so going to court in a different town will be a huge inconvenience to her. The lawyer had prepared a huge amount of evidence against Karen, so there was no way she was actually going to win this case. That was a pretty nice win, but what came after was even better. Since my mother and sister have a lot of friends in town, the story of Karen and Sam doing this shady bullcrap got out really fast. Soon, half the town had heard about it and suddenly Karen and Sam went from 2 favorites in the town because of Sam's reputation to 2 of the most underhanded and nasty people. Sam stopped getting invited to school assemblies and Karen was ostracized in her kid's school PTA. Anthony also ended up talking to the police chief in private and we found out that Sam was severely reprimanded by the chief.
And now we have reached the end of today's stories. Thank you for watching and see you next time.